Hey, it's Joe, back to re-rank the IMDb top 100. Let's get into it. My number 70 is going to be The Intouchables, a French feel-good movie. It's about this rich, paralyzed guy who has like a whole retrofitted, like super deluxe penthouse apartment, I think. And he has like a bunch of like assistants and servants almost. Very posh, like high class guy, right? And the twist is that he has a new position open up and he's interviewing people. And one of the guys that applies is just like a regular guy who doesn't really understand the whole like manners and like posh high society type thing, right? So it's like that clash of like upper society and like lower society, but it's cool because the guy who gets hired, he essentially like turns the paralyzed guy's world upside down, and it makes him appreciate life because he kind of became bitter from being paralyzed for so long. So he's just like a bitter old man. But the chemistry of the actors is phenomenal, and just like the positivity of the movie, it's really really good. This did get remade into an American film with Bryan Cranston and Kevin Hart, I think. Nowhere near as good, still okay, but this one, the original one, is the one to watch. Next up is Coco at 69. Coco, I was surprised when I saw it. I've only seen it the one time because I'm almost afraid to rewatch it because I feel like I'm gonna tarnish the experience. But that first watch, I was so happy like watching it. I loved the like finally the like a Latino setting, and it really works with like Pixar's favorite thing to do with it, which is like almost like the tear jerker scenes at the end, how they always end them. But like this like theme and setting really lends itself to that type of like writing, because especially the setting of the Day of the Dead celebration in Mexico, I think it really helps sell home like specifically that like final like 20-30 minutes where Pixar just really wants to rip your heart out, and it works oh so well. Great movie. Next up is The Lion King, just a pure classic. Although it is an adaptation essentially of Shakespeare, I feel like it's really created its own identity. Just terrific voice acting and just a clear vision of like this world of like an animal kingdom, and all the animals had their roles, and it's just so beautifully made, and it really just gets sold by the voice acting of so many famous people like Rowan Atkinson as like the bird, and like Scar's voice actor is so menacing, and it just really works. Obviously, this is way, way better than that live action remake. Next up is Toy Story. I rewatched the hell out of this on like VHS as a kid. That's probably why I have it like pretty decently high for an animated kids movie on this list. It's just incredible, and I think that while not the best in the series, I would say that the second one is the best Toy Story movie. But what this did for just the world of animation and what stories could be about, I think you can't deny it. And it's just incredibly iconic, like characters, amazing voice acting, and for the time, the animation was stellar. All right, number 66 is going to be Das Boot. This is a movie about a German submarine crew, and it's just such an interesting like thriller full of suspense, like the camaraderie of like the German soldiers, like the almost like the cabin fever of like, oh, they're all in the submarine for months on end, and like, oh, maybe one guy's going a little bit crazy, or oh, the suspense or like the tension of like, oh, our radar's picking up an enemy like ship or enemy submarine. Oh, we gotta go dark, and they gotta like turn off all the systems so they're not like detected. Like the sound design is really incredible. And it really makes you feel like you're in the submarine, where like submarine settings in more modern movies, it always feels like a set, but this really feels like you're actually in a submarine. The only other one that like gets close and surpasses that like sound design and just like the tactile feel of like, oh, you're actually in this like underwater base or like a submarine, is James Cameron's The Abyss. But this is a really solid movie. There's two cuts, I think, because I think this is technically a miniseries. There's like the movie cut, which is I think is what I saw. And there's like the full miniseries cut, which is like over 4 hours. It's like watching episodes of a miniseries. I think I saw the theatrical cut, and I thought it was well paced, and I had a lot of fun watching it. Next up is 65. We have The Lives of Others, another German movie. I just thought it was such a unique perspective, and it's been done kind of like twisted into other ways, but I really like the idea that we're following this movie from the perspective of the German soldier who's spying on people, right? So this is set during the time before the Berlin Wall fell. So you have East and West Germany. And when you have people suspected of being revolutionaries of this time, you have the German like soldiers having to spy on the revolutionaries. And just the acting, because a lot of it is just the facial acting, right? The guy who's spying on this revolutionary, and he's just getting more into his life, right? Because he's hearing everything, all the intimate like exchanges of the guy with like his girlfriend, the arguments, and he's just really getting into like being empathetic to what he's listening to, and that can be a serious problem for somebody whose job is to essentially spy on people. And just the drama is incredible. I definitely recommend it. Next up, 64, we have Rear Window. Alfred Hitchcock, what can I say? He is a master. While this is not my favorite of his, I think I would give that to North by Northwest. Just a simple premise of essentially a one location film, and making it this like taut and entertaining is incredible. You basically have Jimmy Stewart with a broken leg, people watching. He's literally kind of like people watching out his back window. He's just spying on his neighbors essentially, and he thinks he sees a murder, and he has to keep spying, and he has to get evidence, and he has to prove that what he saw was real. And he's trying to convince, like, I think his girlfriend visits him, or like his friends visit him. And for being essentially a one location film, because it's all in his apartment, his leg's broken, he's there the whole time, it's super entertaining, and the tension is really well done. Next up is Psycho. What Psycho did for the horror genre cannot be denied. It's incredible. Like, what they got away with getting past like the censorship of that era, like the shower scene, the fact that that was put to film and they allowed it is a huge milestone. And another kind of like meta thing about it is the opening for the time is like, what a crazy opening. But then for more modern audiences, maybe if you haven't seen Psycho, you've seen something similarly done in Wes Craven's Scream. The opening with Drew Barrymore, if you know what happens, that like twist, Psycho was one of the first to do it, right? It might be the first to do a twist like that. And it's almost like playing on like the meta knowledge of the audience, right? Like at the time, Drew Barrymore was a star, and then that happened. And then at the time, I think it's Janet Leigh, right? At the time, she's like this big star. And what Hitchcock did was like, wow, he really did that. And then it's influence on the horror genre in general definitely like puts this a step above from Rear Window for me. Number 62, The Usual Suspects. Now, this is a movie where the twist, I feel like, is the whole film, but just the tension and the acting. And I think I've read that all the actors in this, because this is a who's who of like that guy, like, oh, that guy from this. It's like every single guy on here is that guy from this or that guy from that. Like Benicio del Toro or Kevin Spacey. Like, it's got all these like actors you recognize. I think they were all told that they had to act like they were the guilty one, right? So the movie is you're trying to figure out who's like the mastermind of this crime, and all these guys are the suspects and they get arrested, but you don't know which of them is the real mastermind. They're all like kind of like denying it that they're the mastermind. They're like, oh, I just got hired on, whatever. So the fact that everybody has to act like they're guilty really puts a spin on things where, like, while you're watching it, you always think you're right, no matter who you think is your choice for, like, oh, it's definitely them. And then the ending happens and it's boom, like, amazing. All right, the last for today's video, number 61, Avengers Infinity War. This was incredible in theaters. And even rewatching it, like, especially nowadays with all the CBM and just in general Marvel fatigue that I have and so many people have, I gotta respect and give props to what Infinity War did, especially with its ending. You have like the culmination of so many movies of build-up, right? Like the 10 years of movies. This is the culmination of it. And it ends on almost like such a bitter note. Like the snap is one of the craziest things I've ever seen, especially for the genre. And ending the movie there, I think almost retroactively that watching Endgame made this a little bit worse because you don't get the payoff again. It kind of like just becomes, oh, the good guys have to win, and the people who you thought were gone, they're coming back, and it's just not as like hard of like, wow, what an incredible ending. I don't think they would have the balls to do it where it was permanent and it was irreversible. Obviously they didn't. But seeing this for the first time and not knowing, like, wow, what the hell are they going to do in the next one? Do they have the balls to like keep these people gone? And then the ones that are left have to kind of pick up the pieces and make it work. I thought that would have been an incredible send-off to the MCU, and then I think they should have just wiped the board clean and done something else. Obviously, it kept going for worse, and we have what we have now, and we have the fatigue that comes with it. While Endgame was also really good, and it's on this list lower down, Infinity War, for my money, is the better movie. All right, so let me know what you think about my rankings. Would you put the movies higher? Would you put them lower? Let me know in the comments, leave a like, and thanks for watching.